Yes.
Okay. How many planners does it take? No. That was your 1990s joke for the campaign.
Jim.
I will, and it is recorded. All right, so Steve, you are the chair and I will let you open the meeting.
Okay, so we'll see what time it is. It's 7:05. Welcome to NMCOG. It's January 17th, Wednesday. And first order of business on the agenda is call to order and roll call vote.
Andrew,
Roll call? Yep, thank you.
Chris, Mary. Here. Pat. Here. Anita.
Sorry.
Anita.
He's muted.
Here, sorry.
Doug Bruce,
Present.
Heather,
Here.
Michael Costana, Phil, Ron,
That's from Dunstable, I'm looking at, I didn't realize it was 2 rounds, that's not me.
Ron, Nickel,
Nope.
okay, Jim Wilkie,
I am here.
Jason Silva, Sakari Chow, Jerry,
Here,
Chuck.
He's here.
He's there somewhere.
I'm right here, just couldn't find my mute button.
Joe,
Here.
Steve,
Yeah,
Jane,
Here.
James Duffy, Alex, Ron Cohen,
Here.
Steve O'Neill, Katerina, Christopher, Darren Wiss.
Here. Yep, I'm here.
James Silva. Thank you.
thank you very much. Next agenda is minutes from January 20th, 2023. We need a vote on those. Anybody had a chance to go over it?
I have a couple edits.
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, it lists Ron
This-
Nickel as being here. I don't think it was this one here, Ron Cohen.
Yeah.
And because of that, if you go to the community exchange, under Tingsboro, it says Ron Nickel made the Tingsboro report, and actually it was this Ron Cohen. And if you go to community exchange, under Chelmsford, my name is spelled incorrectly.
Anything else on that, Pat?
That's all I saw
Where is
Yeah,
your name is spelled?
in the community exchange,
Community Exchange.
under Chelmsford. It's
I
spelled
know
right in the roll call, but not here.
And
Thanks.
yeah, I should have caught this.
Thanks for picking that out, Pat. On the notes on the agenda, it said minutes from January 20th. But that's okay, doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is what the minutes say here. Any other changes, corrections to the minutes? If not, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Wait, probably, but I can't remember.
No, just all the people that are
Here, Mary,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Anita,
Abstain.
Heather,
Abstain.
Jim Wilkie,
Abstain.
Jerry,
aye,
Chuck,
aye,
Joe,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Ron Cohen,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
complete.
All set?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So meetings have been approved. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, financial report and warrant, income and expense statements for December 19th, 2023 through January 16th, 24.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening.
Sarah.
No, I would like to direct your attention to the, warrants. You will notice, I'm sure you did notice, that I've made a little bit of a change here with the formatting, on our prior reports that were used. It just kind of flowed funny. For an example, on the warrant page and included in the warrant amount, previously approved, included checks that were outstanding, and we wouldn't need to include that in the number for the warrant approval, so I removed that from the warrant page. So the signature page here, which is the cover, there's a space for each community, for whoever is present after we vote, after you vote, I should say. And I will pass this around so that I can have signatures, after the vote. So this
Not
is-
in your package, she has it.
Not in the packet, okay, yeah, so I have the signature page, I will pass it around after the vote, okay? Then, you will notice on the page that it says warrant report, this is a breakdown of all of our outstanding, payments that are coming up from today through our next meeting. So these are all projected bills from now until our next meeting, not bills that are in the past that have already been paid, which is how these reports were presented prior.
Interesting.
Okay, so that number there, the 227,633 is everything that we anticipate to have to expend from now until February 21st, which is, the day of our next meeting. So that wraps up the financial warrant part of this. Now, the other pages here, these are bank reconciliation. These are recaps of what were also on the other form. This is where you will see any outstanding items that have been paid and not cleared. So you'll see outstanding checks and their amounts. You'll see the bank account statement balance, and you will see the book balance. And if everything ties out, there are no differences, which you will see that there are no differences. So this is how I'm going to do this, going forward. I am open to suggestions if anybody wants any more detail, than the breakdown of the outstanding checks. For example, if you want to see, deposits for the month, right? So this is just showing us that we don't have anything, so there isn't anything in the bank account that is outstanding on the books, and there isn't anything outstanding on the books that is pending in the bank account. However, it does not break down a list of all the deposits that have come in, right? So like all of our, accounts receivable that we've collected. So I already had that in my mind that I was going to add that to this. But again, like I mentioned, I'm open to suggestions and questions. So, yes, so that's our recap here. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too is when I'm presenting the financial reports, I am reporting on the last period. I'm not reporting from the last meeting to this meeting as I am with the warrant, okay? So the last period for the financial statements, for the financial report is the last full month, which would be December, okay? So, again, that was kind of not the case on the prior reports. It would always go meeting to meeting. But that doesn't reflect what I do in accounting, how I run things. So if anyone, again, has any questions or anything, please let me know. And that's it for me for now.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
does that mean on the enterprise bank account, there's no money left in it right now, so the checks are clear? Is that how you, okay.
So I always leave 0 in that account. And what I mean by that is even though the bank statement says it has 28,727, there are items here underneath on that side of checks that have been written and just haven't cleared. So the
Right.
bank has a balance of 28,000, but my book balance, there isn't anything more or less than only what should be there to cover those outstanding payments.
Okay. Yes.
Any other questions for Sarah from the council? If not, can we get a voice vote or roll call for financial report acceptance and warrant?
I'll make a
Mary?
motion to accept the report.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we'll do roll call, please.
Mary,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Chuck,
Aye.
Joan,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Darren.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, council. Moving on to item number 4, strategic planning update, report out from January 13, 24, our retreat. Jenny's going to talk about this. Jenny?
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I think many of you were there. I know not everybody was there, so I'll just give a quick recap. I thought it was a really productive afternoon, and I really appreciated everybody's participation and all the support also from staff. And Pat for securing that location. I really enjoyed being at the library. And after the meeting, I was in the parking lot, and I don't know how many people were around, but I saw a double rainbow, so I think that means good things, okay?
Yes, it does.
And then I went home, and there was a second double rainbow, so I got 2 double rainbows after that meeting. All right.
confirmation.
That has nothing to do with what we talked about that day, though.
Has
But it was really, I mean,
You should
it was
definitely
about
play the
thinking
lottery.
positively all day.
I should have left so fast.
Amazing.
Missed it.
That was really cool. And Mary is sharing a photo that she took. So-
Oh,
that was my
sent me.
photo.
That was
Oh,
your
okay, that
photo.
was my
Yeah,
photo. Yeah, I took a photo, of course, because it's like,
Thank you.
Instagrammable
Oh, sorry.
moment, which is what I did next. So the productive part of the meeting was sharing, obviously, the past 2 strategic planning sessions that we held, which was a year prior in January also, and then one in June. And at this session, we talked about basically priorities, trying to identify what are NMCOG's top priorities. And we also talked about 3, what we think are sort of just in a draft format, the core values. So we got feedback from people who attended on those priorities, and we're still synthesizing all the feedback. So I don't have anything full to report at this moment in time. But we got the feedback on priorities, and then we talked a lot about issues potentially on the horizon, or in other words, things that we need to be mindful of as we're planning for the future. And the future in this case is only 3 years. And so it's not looking out to a very long, horizon, but I do think it's important to think about various considerations, like changes that might be happening or being talked about at the local level, like big increases or revenue problems, but also at the state and federal level, where policies or programs might be changing, where they maybe are less supportive of local and regional planning, and that would have, and transportation planning, which would have a very big impact on this agency. So those were the kinds of things that we were talking about, and I think a lot of the feedback that I heard was wholly supportive of certainly the agency, appreciation for staff, appreciation for the very professional work, and also an understanding of our limitations and why it's important for us to be, to have some greater prioritization. I think the other things that I heard were around support for some specific things, like new partnerships to think about, new potential revenue streams or ways that we can think about revenue differently. And just in general, pretty great conversation all around, and, great ideas that were shared. Kelly, you were there. Obviously, others were also in attendance. So please, anybody else, feel free to chime in and share your thoughts about how the meeting went. And when we've summarized all the notes, obviously, I'll be sharing them with everybody, and you'll be approving the minutes more formally.
I just want to say that it makes it so much easier for the people in the meeting to concentrate and be creative and think when other people are taking all of the notes. Because it really is, it's hard it's not like a regular meeting. It's hard to really brainstorm while you're, so thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, Chris, yes. Chris is on Zoom with us. So thank you, Chris. Yes.
No, I
Anybody
was
else
just.
want to have comments?
That's it, Chris.
Any other, or strategic planning committee members who also helped to pull things together? Any other thoughts to share?
Anybody?
I think just to echo on what Jenny said, I think I come away from those meetings feeling energized, and it's
I
really,
agree.
it's very nice to be in a meeting where everybody there is just there to work and be attentive and participate. And so I just thanks to everybody who was there, and I really appreciate your feedback and your support and your excellent critiques and comments on the work that was presented.
Yeah, there was a lot of great input, and it was nice to build our relationships with each other more extensively, especially, getting to know each other and talking about our ideas and exchanging those. Everybody's very respectful of everybody else's comments. And I know Jenny got a wealth of information there. So I guess she was all excited, eyes lit up. She kept us to the last minute too, She wanted to keep picking our brains, but it was all good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
You
for
got a
that.
double rainbow. What can I say?
Did we left any earlier?
Yeah. You might not have seen that.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 5, report executive director's report. Jenny, you're on again.
Yeah, so I will just give some thanks and then highlights and I guess reminders. So first of all, thank you to Austin and Paul for overseeing the traffic counting program this past season. Everything wrapped up at the end of last year, as you know. So I'm reporting in January here, but all of the counts were actually done in November, and we wrapped up the full season in December last month. Now we are pivoting to put out an RFP for another consultant, because we have to do it annually, to get a new company potentially on board to work with us for this coming traffic counting season. And we'll be issuing a report on the traffic count sometime soon. So just a big thank you to, that was our first time hiring a consultant and doing the process very differently, I think, than in most years that the NPO has run traffic counting. And I guess we'll have to evaluate its effectiveness at some point, but I'll be interested to see the counts, and then of course we'll report back with any updates as we move into the next season. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to say another thank you to Paul's team for helping, and this was Paul and Blake Acton, who helped with some updates to our Title VI report. We received feedback from our federal partners and MassDOT regarding our Title VI report, which was in need of various updates, and they handled that very nicely, and all of those updates have now been posted and are available on our website. There's a link through the report that you can click on and check out on your own. Really, the big thing in transportation right now is two big things, actually. One is next Wednesday at the NPO meeting, the Secretary of Transportation will be with us. So if anybody, now obviously the NPO is aware of this, but if anybody else in this room wishes to attend, you need to be on the attendance list if you plan to be here in person. You can also participate remotely. They have also a hybrid meeting opportunity, so you can participate in Zoom. But if you plan to be here in person, please just let me know, and I'll make sure that you're on the list for the secretary to know. We would love to know ideally by Friday afternoon, if that's possible. So please let me know at that time. So it's next Wednesday at 2 p.m. I didn't mention that. And so again, if you can't participate in person, we understand. The secretary has been going to all of the NPOs to visit them and get to understand, the work that they're doing. Kelly actually will be making a presentation about NMCOG and also about all of the different local and regional projects that we work on where there's an intersection between transportation, economic development, and housing. And it's an opportunity, obviously, to showcase what we're doing here at NMCOG to an extent, but also for her to understand and see how well our NPO is functioning. And we anticipate that, you know, it'll be a really, really good day and hopefully you can be here celebrating in our new space again. But if you can't, again, just, let me know if you plan to be here in person. So that's the big upcoming event for the MPO. The other big upcoming event is actually part of a 4-year process. I mentioned this previously. It's called a federal certification review. And it's where they look back at the prior 4 years, which is a little awkward for some of us who haven't been here for those 4 years, but, you know, it's basically an opportunity to look back at what's happened and get some feedback from state and mostly federal partners on how the MPO is functioning and what needs to be improved in the future. And based on the level of scrutiny and questioning that we have received just to prepare for this meeting, I anticipate that it'll be a very engaging day, which is February 8th. And I anticipate a full day of a lot of information sharing and opportunity for the MPO to be even better in the future. It culminates into a report with actions and recommendations. We've done this for the whole time that the MPO has been in existence. So I'm looking forward to that process. Those 2 meetings are a lot of planning and time, and thank you very much to Leslie for all of her support on those, as well as, of course, Paul for leading them. And all of the transportation team, really, they've been very thoughtful about the whole process. So a couple of other things include obviously planning for the At Home in Greater Lowell event, and that I mentioned the last times that we've spoken, but please, if you can attend that, we'd also love to see you there. And if you can't, we also understand that one. I don't think has a remote opportunity, so you have to be in the room where it happens, and if the room where it happens is only one room, I'm sorry. So for that one, it's February 13th from 1 to 5, and I believe it's at maybe mill number 5.
Yeah, we're reserving it.
And
right now,
that's
so.
here in Lowell.
Mhm.
And we can send out more details as the day shapes up. So again, thank you to Chris and Kelly for their work leading that. And we really kicked off all of the work in earnest on that recently. So I'm looking forward to that event. As you know, we talked about this last time and it happened to be on our agenda and we skipped it, but we are still trying to work with the LRTA to figure out what arrangement we will have moving forward and what our contract with them will look like. At the moment, it might be a contract that operates from, so our current contract expires March 31st. And we're trying to work with them on a contract that will run from April 1st, potentially through September 30th. And then to get into a pattern of actually being on the same federal fiscal year contract to align with our MassDOT work, which makes sense because the 2 actually go together and the UPWP activities are complementary to the work that we do with the LRTA. Both, that's all of like basically funds our transportation planning program. So it's really important that we have the LRTA contract because without that contract, we can't do a lot of the transit planning activities and other regional GIS programming that we do. So it's really important that that moves forward. And that's the status of it right now. And I'm hopeful that at our February meeting, we can at least discuss the budget number and potentially a resolution, but the resolution might have to be at a later date. So that more to come on that. The resolution is just for me to enter the contract. So the most important point is the budget number, just to give you a little understanding of that. Also within the technical assistance program, just pivoting to that, we put out a call for proposals and we extended the timeline for proposals to come from any of your communities through February 2nd. It's a Friday, to give people a little bit more time to be responsive. We got a lot of additional ideas that were submitted after the fact. There are just so many great proposals and projects that are out there and we want to be able to really fairly evaluate everything. But we do have a good sense of probably where things might be shaping up and where we can have some really good projects in each community as well as regionally. So more to report on that probably next month.
Yes.
And then the Economic Development District designation. I'm not sure, I think Chris might have popped off, unfortunately, but We got word from the EDA that it is looking very favorable, that we will receive the approval for our Economic Development District designation. This has been something on NMCOG's agenda for at least the last decade. And it appears to finally be moving towards a favorable action by the EDA and also a favorable approval of our EDA Planning Assistance Grant. That grant was captured in our FY '24 budget for $75,000, and it will help us to update our next comprehensive economic development strategy. So that was really good news, and big kudos to Chris for following up on all the details related to that grant and hopefully being able to move it forward. And I think I covered everything, actually. I think those were the main, oh, no, I didn't. The big thing is, I mentioned this at the meeting on Saturday, but because everybody wasn't there, we've hired a new sustainability planner, Megan Tenoff, and she is starting on Monday. So I'll be very excited to introduce you all to her at the next meeting. And very excited to have somebody doing that work again, as many of your staff will be as well. So I think now that's it. Steve, or any questions?
Jenny, on the LRTA, I'm just
Yes,
thinking, is there a way to maybe get a representative from LRTA to get them on the agenda for the council, so we just kind of get a better idea of what's going on with the organization, the service area, ongoing activities within the district, just kind of get to know more about what they do and how maybe we can all benefit by asking more questions between each other and get some kind of a idea of where they're headed and so forth, planning out for the future. Any way to get a representative on our agenda so we can have a discussion like that?
I can definitely extend an invitation. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions on executive director's report for Jenny? Okay, let's move on to community exchange. I'll just go down the list here on my agenda notes. So this is a chance to talk a little bit about what's going on in your community. And we can start with Bill Areca.
Well, a month from today, on Saturday, February 17th, we are having a special election to overturn the vote of one of the town meeting warrant articles. People filed suit, long story, but anyway, it's all come to fruition. We are going to do the election. We also have received our brand new voting machines, which no one knows how to use. Yeah. We thought we had until March 5th. But now, sometime in the next couple of weeks, everyone has to learn how to use them, or else that will be one strange election. And that's really about all.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
So we'll be looking for help if anyone wants to apply.
Okay, let's move on to Chelmsford.
So, I just have one thing to report. Last week before the governor, announced her budget cuts, the town of Chelmsford was able to, get one of our earmarks, which was very exciting, the $75,000 for a new police incident response ban, I believe is what it's called. Later that day, we found out that another earmark was slashed in half, but at least we were able to get that one, so we're glad about that.
And you're keeping that in?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good, okay.
Yes, we definitely are. So I don't know if Anita or Doug have anything to talk about.
I was gonna say, this April, we're heading for, we'll be voting on the MBTA community. We did have a citizens petition, put in a warrant article to present against approving the MBTA proposal that the planning board is doing. Even though a no vote would do the same thing, they actually put in a warrant article so they could present their case. So that should be interesting spring town meeting for us.
Doug, anything?
No, nothing to add.
Okay, no problem. Let's move on to Drake.
Sure, we've got a meeting at the end of the month to talk about the MBTA proposed zoning that was devised by Zoning Bylaw Review Committee. So we'll be having a joint meeting with the Select Board and the Planning Board to see how we feel about that. And then I believe they're working with NMCOG to do a community survey. We're also facing a $2.5 million budget deficit. So we're not quite sure how we'll be making that up. One thing that's actively happening is the town manager is trying to have a new chargeback agreement with the schools that hasn't been updated in several years, I think over a decade. So she's looking to charge $600,000 back to the school. So, and that's going to be a robust debate between the town manager and the superintendent. So we'll see. I think they're getting a special attorney and getting DESI involved to make sure the chargebacks are actually legal. And then Murphy Farm, the 300 unit, 4 bedrooms, 40B is on hold in January, and they'll supposedly be coming before us in February with an actual plan. So the hearing started in the summer, and they have yet to produce an actual plan. They just kind of have an artist rendering, so that we haven't been able to do any peer review. They haven't put money in the peer review bucket. So it's kind of been no action, and looking forward to what they'll bring to the table in February. I think those are the 3 big ones. Greenmont School did not get picked up by the MSBA, but I guess we'll continue every year to keep submitting it in hopes that it will eventually get picked up. I think that's it.
Thank you. Let's move on to Dunstable.
Yeah, we have, we also have a budget deficit of over $800,000. That's the bad news. And it doesn't look good for years 25 and 26 either. We're married with, our school system is married with Groton. And Groton is a very beautiful town, a nice, wealthy town. And about 62% of our budget goes to supporting the school system. Not that that's bad. I have 4 kids, and that's a good thing. To offset that, we're getting very good attention from a 40B proposal, a friendly 40B proposal for 156 units to go at the corner of Main Street and Lowell Street. It's an over 55 community, which would not add, presumably not add kids to the school system. So it would be proportionally a much larger tax revenue that the town can use for other things. But it wouldn't be completed for several years. So it's a good thing. I think we all like it. Nobody likes the architecture of a, you know, when you take 156 units and put them on 10 acres. When, you know, in a lot of our towns, as you know, it's 4 or 5 houses on 10 acres, and it doesn't look the same. So a lot of people in town are upset about the change in the look and feel. It is inevitable. It helps with the budget, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Anyway, that's the big news right now.
That's big news for sure for Dunstable.
Indeed.
Okay, let's move on to Lowell.
I don't have anything, Steve, at this point.
No problem. Next time, Jerry. You waited for it. Pepperell, I'm sure we got a lot to hear about Pepperell. Let's hear about Pepperell.
Chuck, do you want to start?
Joan, I'll let you go since most of the stuff's on the planning board that's in front of everybody right now.
Okay, all right. Number 1, next week, we are interviewing yet another candidate for town planner. So I'm excited about that. We're hoping maybe we'll finally get one, but right now we have one that's a 10-hour-a-week planner. She's very nice. Her name is Eve Tapper, but she's from Newton. So she's mostly remote. She's been attending our planning board meetings, and she had a lot of good input, and she's very experienced in planning. So we're happy with that. The other thing, let me think, is I'm not sure if we ever mentioned this or not, but in 2022, the town voted to approve the Community Preservation Act. In October, we created a Community Preservation Committee. And in January, which is here now, we are accepting applications for people for community preservation funding. We have 6 applications in the queue that we'll be looking at on January 18. and hopefully we'll be making some kind of an approval for giving these funds to the 6 different individual groups that have applied. So we're kind of really excited about that. I can't really think of anything else. Oh, I do know though that in there it said that the this I think the subdivision rules. I think it was the subdivision that NMCOG had worked on. We're still working on those. We're going to be having a separate meeting so we can just discuss those without any other agenda items, because our last meeting was 3.5 hours long for the planning board. It's just huge amounts of work that have to be done. And I think that's it. Chuck, do you have anything?
It just the add that what Joe was alluding to about our 3-hour meeting was related to the warehousing development, which is going on the outskirts of Pepperell. And Jim, I feel your pain as far as change. We have some trouble changing light bulbs in Pepperell's at times. But you know, this project is a good project. It's zoned for industrial out there, and the developer has been phenomenal at doing any adjustments in order to accommodate the residents. But that's the only thing I think you missed, John.
Yep. Oh, good.
Yeah, we changed our light bulbs to LEDs though, right, Chuck?
That's right.
We did that at town hall.
No incandescents.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, okay. I know Pepperell's, Chuck knows this, and yeah, we're dealing with financial woes like most communities. And remember, went around what 3.25% level budget. No more increases in that per department. So FinCom's got to work on that, and the board of selectmen have to make a decision if we have to look at an override down the road or not. We tried one last year, it failed. So, but other than
and Jim, ours is all related to the school district as well, because we have 3 towns in our regional district.
Right.
So we'll see how that works out. Okay, let's move on to Tewksbury.
Hello, I got a couple of things. This morning we had some pro-Palestinian protesters in front of Raytheon, one of our Raytheon facilities, who threw some red paint on a sign. It was a little disruptive, but largely peaceful, but unexpected, to some degree, I suppose. We have turned in our MBTA communities draft language to the state for preliminary review. We're aiming for a May town meeting to pass that. It is controversial in town, but it's in an area that seems to not be too controversial. So we'll see what happens as we go forward when we're trying to hit that timeline so that we can go to special town in October if we need to with any changes. I have pushed for some design documents to be included as side documents for the design as well, so that we kind of get more of what we're looking for. Most of the area is actually owned by one person, so we'll see what comes of that. A local developer bought up a lot of developable land. And we are having open negotiations right now. Our school committee has started open negotiations with their teachers union, and that's expected to be a little bit of a fraught situation as they go forward. So far, it's going okay, but they've just gotten started. And we're also getting started on our labor contracts on the town side. So that is, we think that one will impact the other. Right now, we aren't projecting a budget deficit, but we'll see what happens as that goes forward. So a lot of coming attractions financially and impacts there. Thank you.
New year. Yeah, thanks, Jay.
Yep.
Anybody from Tingsboro?
Yes, Steve, how are you?
There you are. Hey, Ron, how you doing?
So we also are MBTA community. We've had a couple of meetings with the residents. We haven't heard any backlash at this point, but at the Maytown meeting, if it's typical Tingsboro, if there is backlash, it's usually right at the very last minute. But I think we have a pretty good plan in place at this point. I just want to Jim from Dunstable. You know, last year we put together a proposal to take over your IT, and we're willing to do that again if we could save you any money. So you can just contact Colin. Our IT staff is still same IT staff we've had, so, if you want to reach out to him, anything we can do, let us know.
All right, I'll pass it along. Thank you.
Okay, financially, so far, level service budget, so far, it's balanced. And hopefully it is, because next year we're gonna spend $1 million out of our operational budget, for the school that we passed. But we have a couple of big projects in town that we forecasted to come in, one of them being Toll Brothers. That still looks like it's coming in, so, you know, as of right now, as we're putting together budget numbers, so far, we're looking okay, pretty good. That's it, thank you.
I'm to be looking at taking $1 million out of the operational budget, not a debt exclusion. For that school you're talking about.
I didn't hear the question. What was that?
Oh, I said, you talked about $1 million out of the operational budget, possibly for Tingsboro next year versus debt exclusion money for, I guess you said school?
So what we did is when we had the new school proposal, it was gonna be a 10% tax increase, and nobody thought that was gonna pass. So we looked at some of our future projects and future growth, and we said, is there anything that we can take out of the operational budget and put it toward the school for over, it's a 30-year loan also. So we had a couple projects that are still moving forward, and so next year, not this coming year, but the following year, it'll be $1 million out of the operational budget to go toward the school loan.
How big's the school
About 85, somewhere in that range. I don't know the exact number though.
loan? No, just
I
curious,
should.
just a different approach, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Last stop is Westford.
Yeah, so not surprisingly,
Right.
MBTA Communities is probably at the forefront. We did get, similar to Tewksbury, we got our language in. We're having a couple of open meetings coming up to really educate folks about what's going to be happening at the town meeting in May. So hoping to get it passed. We put a pretty good proposal forward, we think. The properties we've identified and are proposing would get us a little above the minimum required, but we think that there's a lot of benefit for the town there, and that's what we're trying to communicate to folks, you know, in the education sessions ahead of the town meeting. So those are going to come up over the next few weeks, so we'll see. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Darren. So we have reports from all the communities. That's great. Awesome night. And about the reminders and announcements, I see a few here. Jenny, is that something you're gonna discuss, or just want to read them off the agenda?
I mentioned the first one, which is at home in Greater Lowell. And the second one is a save the date. I don't have all of the details just yet. And I believe this is a virtual, all remote. Yes. This one is a virtual meeting, so it's the Greater Lowell Vision Zero Public Forum. It's the first, I think there's one of two. And it's, as you can see, February 27th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay. And the next council meeting will be February 21st at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Okay.
I skipped that one. Hoping you all knew.
I've been checking them off as I go along. What do I can remember? Okay, so let's move on. Any other business? Old business, new business?
Just two quick things. One is,
Sure.
Was it Chelmsford, a citizen's petition? Is that what you said, Anita? Yeah, just a cautionary tale. As you may have read in the Globe, Milton, or in another source, potentially Milton, basically is doing the same thing, you know, like a ballot initiative to essentially, you know, repeal, if you will, what was voted on and approved by town meeting in the prior month, or at least sometime in the fall. In December.
Yep.
And the Attorney General issued a letter directly to the town of Milton that is basically, in no short words, there will be penalties for a community that does not comply. And not just the removal of or rescinding of grant funds, but other potential violations that will be noted related to local and federal, state and federal rather, fair housing requirements. and potentially more. So I think anything that you can do in your roles, in your communities, and if you need, of course, support from anybody here at NMCOG to back you up, or if you also have questions about what it means to comply, I think emphasizing and underscoring the importance of compliance is really, really important. There is really no other way to put it. But to say that I think when the Attorney General is issuing a warning and the governor is also backing that, that it's a very clear directive about what you need to do. And while of course anybody can issue and is allowed to go through the democratic process of filing petitions and getting the signature and all of that, just understanding the ramifications, I think, is really important to communicate. So not dismissing the democratic process, but rather reminding people of the consequences. So that was one important thing.
Thank you.
The other thing is,
do you mind send me?
Yeah,
can
I
you
can
forward
send
me
it.
what you just read? Thank you.
I can, absolutely. Yeah, I'll send it to everybody.
And Jennifer, as we get closer to our Springtown meetings, we'll probably ask you for an update.
Yeah.
On any other information.
Absolutely. And
Well, I can
yeah.
also add, one of the things that we're doing as part of our regional, we have a regional group of NMCOG communities that are working toward MBTA communities compliance. And one of the things we are doing in advance of the February meeting is aggregating as much information as we can about how many communities have passed this so far. Because that's something that we're not seeing a lot of in the news. We're seeing a lot of fighting and arguing, but we aren't seeing where communities are complying. And so that's something that the planners have asked for. And I would be happy to share that as part of the next council meeting as well, just to know who else is either past it or is actively working on it, because that comes up a lot.
Thank you.
And I think especially in light of the other Chelmsford happening in the other conversation rather happening in Chelmsford around earmarks getting rescinded or other, budgetary concerns, this is the last thing that I think you want to be concerned about. In the background, it's kind of a noise, I think, a loud one, of course, and I understand why, but I think it's just important for you to be mindful of this if you're not already. And if you have questions about it, really, Kelly is here.
Hey, Jenny, aren't those, isn't that more of a non-binding resolution they're looking at in Chelmsford, or maybe Pat knows?
Oh, is it the petition filed as a resolution? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, non-binding. No, it's more or less, consensus that they don't want it, but it's not nothing that they can do legally, you know what I mean? There's no legal ramifications behind it. It's more what the towns are communicating back to the state that they're not happy, and take a look.
Steve, there's two things. There was a petition from a resident that did have 100 signatures that wanted us to put on the ballot before town meeting, a non-binding question about whether to not comply with the MBTA zoning. The select board decided not to put that question on the ballot.
Okay.
But there is also a citizen petition for a warrant article, as Anita mentioned, that kind of opposes the MBTA community's part, and they've worked out where, the town will make a presentation about MBTA communities, and then this petitioner will make a presentation opposing what is then said, and then there'll be a vote to decide whether to go forward with it. So that obviously will be binding. That'll be binding because that's a town meeting vote, but then for our charter, just similar to what happened in Billerica on something else, there is a portion of our charter that says after town meeting, there's a certain number of signatures that can force a townwide vote on whether to affirm that town meeting vote. So they may do that if the vote.
And it's pretty much, in Billerica, at least it's 5% of the voting.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
3,300 signatures, and they had a week to get them. So
It's
pretty remarkable that they did it with the wrong information in the petition, but that's.
Fear is a very good organizing tool.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to also mention that tomorrow I am delivering testimony as part of the Housing Bond Bill, the Affordable Homes Act, on a panel with 2 other regional planning agency directors. And once I complete all of that, I will share my written testimony with all of you as well.
Where are you testifying?
Oh, remotely here
Remotely.
in my office.
But who is
Remotely.
undertaking this project?
Oh, it's the Joint Committee on Housing.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a legislative hearing on, it's the first hearing of the
Interesting.
Affordable Homes Act. Yeah. And at some point, probably next month, we will also talk about retirement legislation. This is, I mean, in quotes, that's what it's been called. Because it's been coming up again, and there's a new director of the Massachusetts state retirement system. So this is for a future business item that we will need to be talking about, and the future is February. It's actually very, very soon. But I don't know about the legislative hearing for that. I've shared previously my testimony that was prepared related to that bill similarly, but don't have any updates on that until next month.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And those were
Okay.
all of the other business items, and that was it. For me.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Anything from the councilors? Other business? New, old? Okay, well, 7:55, we did pretty good. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, do we need a roll call on that, Jenny? Can we just do consensus?
I think unless somebody really wants to stay.
Goodbye.
Anybody
All right.
not
Bye,
okay?
Good job,
everybody.
Steve.
Have a great
Good night.
weekend.
Thank
You
you.
know.
Too.
Bye,
You too,
Thanks.
take care.
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Good meeting.
Bye, everyone.
Real approves.
Yes. Bye.
All in favor?